Hello, my name is Andy, and I am the village idiot, and I'm armed with a car and a GoPro, and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. Welcome back to the district of Selby. It's a beautiful day in late February, and here I am in a place that's a linear village, but it's a delight. It really is a delight, and I say that because it's so quiet. I've walked through the entire village, and I'm just about to head back the other way, and to be honest with you, I've heard very little in the way of any kind of noise, certainly not much traffic noise. Really the only things I can hear are the sounds of the birds tweeting in the trees all around me. It's fabulous. It's so peaceful, it's so quiet. And if you want this peace and tranquility, come to the parish of Thorganby. Thorgrimbi is a small village and civil parish in the Selby district of North Yorkshire, although it was historically part of the East Riding of Yorkshire until 1974. It's situated 3 miles from the village of Wheldrake, which is over the district boundary and into York. According to the 2011 census, the village had 330 residents, a figure which includes that of West Cottingwith, which is a tiny hamlet incorporated into Thorgrimbi on the opposite bank of the River Derwent from East Cottingwith. It's got a limited number of services and amenities which we'll take a look at shortly. Notably, there's no school. Children in the village attend Wheldrake with Thorganby C.V. Primary School, located in Wheldrake. The village is mentioned in the Domesday Book as Torgrembi and was listed as belonging to Ralph Paynel, the Lord-in-Chief of the area. The name of Thorganby derives from a personal name, Thorgrim, and the Old Norse "bi" meaning farmstead or village. Thus, this is the village belonging to Thorgrim. It's belonged to a few people since then, most notably the Dunnington-Jeffersons. That's a name you'll see a few times in this video. The Dunnington family were major landowners in the East Riding from at least the 17th century. In 1685, Thomas Dunnington bought low-lying land at Thorganby and West Cottingwith. Much of this land had been in the Saltmarsh family for generations. In the time of Richard I, a small Benedictine nunnery was built at a hamlet called Thickett, which lies to Thorganby's north, by Roger Fitzroger, to the honour of the Blessed Virgin. That will become important later. In more recent times, Thorganby can boast some railway history. The nearest railway station in the 19th century was Escrick, some 5 miles to the west. However, in 1913, Thorganby gained its own station on the newly opened Derwent Valley Light Railway, which provided a link between York and Selby. The site of the station is between Thorganby and Skipwith, and it closed in 1926 to passengers, remaining open until 1964 for goods traffic. Complete closure to freight came in December 1964. Only the station building remains, which is in a derelict state. However, the station master's house survives as a private dwelling. There's some celebrity history here too. Film star Robert Redford visited the village in March 2011 while in the UK to promote the Sundance London Film Festival. In all, Thorganby, West Cottingwith and Thickett combine to form a land area that's 11.87 square kilometres large, which gives the parish a population density of 32.86. 99.1% of the residents here are white British, well over half of them of working age too. And the average price for a house out here in this northeastern corner of Selby is pretty expensive at £580,000. A church is first recorded in the village in 1228. However, the present structure, the Church of St Helen, which is a Grade 1 listed building, dates from the 15th century. The church is in the ecclesiastical parish of Thorganby, which is in the Diocese of York. This is where the Dunnington-Jeffersons will be heavily mentioned. One of them, Joseph Dunnington, adopted the double surname of Dunnington-Jefferson from 1841. He went to St John's in Cambridge in 1825 and became Vicar of Thorgrenbi in 1832. He was a wealthy man, becoming prebend of York in 1852, and he employed an assistant curate for Thorgrenbi, where the Church of England Communion was unusually active. After he moved from the vicarage, which was sold as a private house, he built, between 1844 and 1847, Thickett Priory, a large pseudo-Elizabethan red brick mansion on the site of the former Benedictine nunnery. So coming into the church here, first thing I noticed on this little table, history sheets. Please take one. The sheet goes on to say how the octagonal font seen here is exactly the same as the middle stone of the pillar supporting the chancel arch, having been damaged at some point and crudely repaired. Inside the church we also have a memorial to the Dunnington-Jeffersons, and the churchyard has many recumbent gravestones, mostly of their family. And this is why the Jefferson Arms has the name it does, named for the family. There used to be another pub in the village, the Ferryboat, on Ferry Lane, which is now closed down. The old red telephone box is the village's book exchange, and you will find this opposite a small village green and the Jefferson Arms. The village hall bears a date stone of 2003. It's a pretty modern building when compared to most of the rest of Thorganby village. Thorganby Village Hall is a registered charity. Its main functions are to maintain and improve the hall and the village playing field and playground, which we're about to see. If you want an indication of how quiet this part of Selby is, listen. Nothing. It's brilliant, isn't it? Just the birds singing in the trees. Not even a car coming past, although having said that, I can hear one. So there is one going to come past in a second. But generally speaking, this place, so quiet. Right next to the church, which by the way was the de facto dividing line historically between Thorganby and West Cottingworth, is the huge playing field and playground. There's all sorts of play equipment and there's a pretty big football pitch, and you just know I had to have a go on the adventure trail. Now it's been a while. Let's see if I can traverse this. I reckon I'm going to get as far as the rolling log and then I'll probably fall off. This is very difficult when you're doing it with the camera in your hand. If I had my head gear thing at this point, ooh, hey, we're not doing bad. It'd be much easier with that. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. Oh wait, no, I'm going. Not bad, better than my usual attempt to do these things, isn't it? The nearest post office is located in Wheldrake over the border and into York. However, Thorganby does retain a postbox of its own. Now, as natural landmarks go, you can't overlook the Derwent. The village is on the western bank and is across the river from the Lower Derwent National Nature Reserve. If you follow this small stream which runs alongside Ings Lane, you will come to Thorganby Ings, which isn't as large or maybe as well known as Wheldrake Ings to the north, but remains pretty impressive. The Ings are a protected site and also an SSSI. Many rare species of birds fly south from the Arctic every year to winter on the flooded landscape. There's no public right-of-way across the Ings, shown here by this sign leading to them at the end of the track. Not that you'd want to try walking across the Derwent anyway. However, the presence and name of the former ferryboat pub on Ferry Lane is no coincidence. At one time, there was a ferry across the water. Speaking of water, I've been finding all the good stuff again as I present to you a pumping station in the village. There might just be a hint of sarcasm in that sentence. You'll also find there are a number of memorial benches along its length. One of them seen here commemorates the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. So to Thorganby Hall, another property with Dunnington-Jefferson history. John Dunnington, son of Thomas, became a considerable landowner here after inheritance from his father. It was he, in 1822, who built Thorganby Hall after buying yet more land. The hall stands at the southern end of the village, almost directly opposite the church. It has a grand facade which faces north, towards a brick dovecote, totally unmissable as it's right next to the road. So I've just taken a perch here on this little bench on the way back to the car, in memory of George Morris Ross. Thank you, Mr. Ross, for the seat. And it's here on a little village green, I suppose you can call it a green, part way through the village at the Jefferson Arms. Time for today's picture bit, and even though it's a small place, this you would probably expect it didn't have a picture bit, but it's going to have one because there are quite a few things that I haven't managed to get to, including Thickett Priory, and that's the first of the pictures coming your way right now. Okay, I'm back at the car, and that's pretty much it for the parish of Thorganby. And all I've got left to do is put this camera on the dashboard and drive down south through the village towards my next one. It's been a delight. I've loved this one from start to finish, just because really it's so quiet and so peaceful. You don't get very many of those, even in today's modern world. There are still villages like this, which are, you can hear a pin drop. Brilliant. I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot. This has been the parish of Thorganby, and I'm out. So this drive will take us south through Thorganby and effectively through West Cottingwith. As I understand it, you'll be hard pushed these days to find any reference to West Cottingwith as a separate settlement, as it appears to have been incorporated into Thorganby. Either way, this is an interesting short drive towards Skipwith, which you'll see next week.